Hooray! It's the remake of Dragon Ishin. Sorry it took me a while to do the review, but, you know, time. Incidentally, I started learning Japanese so that hopefully one day I could play this in Kenzen, but they've been kind enough to remake this just for me. That's right, they did it for me and nobody else. Ishin is based on actual historical events, I imagine fairly loosely, but it's nice to see samurais are just like our knights were, douchebags who make themselves out to be honourable, when really they're just bullies who have all the money in society behind them. Good job that doesn't happen these days. There's been a bit of a resurgence of samurai games in the last few years, what with Sekiro in the Nioh series and Ghost of Tsushima, and maybe that's been a factor in giving this the remaster treatment. Honestly, whatever it is that made them do this, I'm just glad it exists. But is it good? Is it worth your time? And also importantly, have there been improvements on the saving and cutscene side so you can drop out pretty much whenever? Let's answer that last one straight away. No. In fact, some of the modern improvements like the line-by-line skippable cutscenes aren't here in anything like the amount they are in recent games. The original was made between Yakuza 5 and Yakuza 0, and this game definitely feels like it fits there. If you're expecting Kiwami style improvements to how it looks and plays, bringing it up to 7 or Lost Judgment standards, that's just not the case. This very much feels like a remaster than a remake, but you can save wherever you are except in missions. One day they'll fix this. Who am I kidding? They probably won't. So the points in my previous video, link in the description, still stand when it comes to not respecting your time. The Like a Dragon formula translates really quite well into a samurai game, which kind of solidifies the idea of Kiryu being a modern day samurai. And it is lovely to see your favourite characters appear, being basically the same but in a different setting. While I don't mind admitting that it took me a few hours to warm up to the world of Ishin, warm up I did. To the point where I'd say I probably enjoyed wandering around in this world more than any of the others. It really did feel like there was something around every corner, even if some of the food names have And there are new minigames on this one, whether it be wood chopping or chicken racing or cooking. It's really nice to see this, as there's a lot of repeating in the Yakuza series. That said, it's always nice to see karaoke, but really, it's wandering the world, bumping into odd things and triggering sub-stories that makes the worlds in these games. And there are sub-stories in abundance. Some of them seeming to end, but then you bump into a second or even a third part later. Another really positive change is the different fighting systems. Sure, that's in the previous games, but the difference between them is very pronounced here, with a gun for range combat, sword, fists, and a mix of gun and sword. And I found myself switching during a fight a lot more than previous games. It's really quite fun. Just a warning here. I thought I'd hit a game-breaking bug where I couldn't generate heat, even by using items. But it's because I had an item called the Tranquil Towel equipped and didn't read the item description. Whoops. Don't be me. The localization is weird. Ryoma refers to his adopted father as the weirdly specifically American Pops, and yet the people wandering around the first village translate into a Cockney Barrow boys. Mind your plates of meat. You want to go up the apples and pears for a Lady Godiva? I definitely think that if the previous games aren't your bag, this won't change your mind. Unless you're obsessed with 19th century Japan. If you enjoyed the previous games in the series, you'll enjoy this. Just don't expect as refined an experience as Yakuza 7 or Lost Judgment. Set your sights at Yakuza 0 or Yakuza Kiwami, but samurais, and you're basically there. It might be a while before my next video, as I could really do with some me time, so don't worry if you don't see one for a while. I may end up having to reduce the frequency to monthly, but we'll see. Being short of time, the ever-present theme of this channel and my life. Anyway, if they ever update Kenzen, which is a much older game, I think they'll have to do the full Kiwami update on it, and I suspect if this sells well, there's a chance they'll do it. God, I hope it sells well.